Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. In California, residents brace for more flooded streets, downed trees, mudslides, and power outages. We'll bring you the latest on the storm forecast and damages. Illegal marijuana grows with alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Congress is now asking Attorney General Merrick Garland for answers. 13 governors are showing support for Texas's plans to secure the border. More on the situation at the southern border. First up, a powerful storm swept through California on Sunday and continued into Monday, marking the start of anticipated days of intense rain and snowfall. One person died in Santa Cruz County Sunday afternoon after a tree fell into a home. NTD's Christina Corona gives a weather update.
Torrential rain and heavy winds from the atmospheric river have extended across California. From San Francisco to San Diego, many parts of the state have seen up to 9 inches of rain since the storm arrived on Sunday. Just 10 days ago, the riverbed behind me was completely dry. Today, it is rapidly flowing and moving quickly. Flood alerts have been issued for 38 million people as the National Weather Service warns of a weather storm that could be potentially historic. The storm has sent trees crashing onto power lines and cars, in addition to triggering life-threatening landslides and flash flooding. Governor Gavin Newsom issued a state of emergency for 8 counties in Southern California Sunday. Counties under the state of emergency are Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. As of Monday morning, more than 500,000 people in California are experiencing power outages, primarily in the northern and central regions. The heavy rain forced mandatory evacuations in Santa Barbara and Ventura counties, and Los Angeles firefighters rescued 16 people from a street hit by mudslides Sunday. Recent snowfall in California boosted snowpack levels, with Levitt Meadows receiving an additional 18 inches since Sunday. The National Weather Service confirmed we could see up to 14 inches of rain in the mountain and foothill communities by the time the storm is over. We can expect showers until Friday. Christina Corona, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Now let's take a look at other top headlines. Britain's King Charles III has been diagnosed with cancer. The 75-year-old monarch is now stepping back from public-facing duties and undergoing treatment. A statement from Buckingham Palace said that the cancer was discovered during a recent hospital procedure from benign prostate treatment and that the subsequent diagnostic tests have identified a form of cancer. However, it did not name the type of cancer or at what stage it was found. The statement also says that the king remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. Over in the U.S., Congress members from both chambers are seeking answers over illegal marijuana growing operations and their alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party. A leaked 2023 memo from the Department of Homeland Security shows that 270 suspected illegal marijuana growing operations in Maine were linked to the Chinese regime, possibly generating billions in revenue. The bipartisan group sent a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland last week expressing their concerns. They want to know how many marijuana farms are allegedly run by Chinese nationals, especially those with the potential ties to the Chinese Communist Party. They believe that thousands of illicit Chinese marijuana growing operations pose a direct threat to public safety, human rights, and national security. In some cases, the grow operators also engaged in human trafficking, forced labor, drug trafficking, and violent crime. Lawmakers say most of these illegal pot farms can be found in states with legalized or relaxed marijuana laws. The U.S. Senate yesterday unveiled a nearly $120 billion bipartisan border security bill. The bill would allocate 1/6 of the funding, or $20 billion, for border security, but 3 times as much, or $60 billion, for Ukraine, about $14 billion for Israel, and $10 billion in humanitarian assistance for civilians in conflict zones, including in Ukraine, Gaza, and the West Bank. The bill's proponents said it would end the controversial catch and release practice that critics say contribute to high numbers of illegal immigrants arriving at the southern border. It would do so by speeding up rulings on asylum cases instead of quickly releasing apprehended illegal immigrants and allowing them to stay in the United States for years while they await hearings. Some Republicans are skeptical of the new Senate bill. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise wrote on X that, "Here's what the people pushing this deal aren't telling you. It accepts 5,000 illegal immigrants a day and gives automatic work permits to asylum recipients, a magnet for more illegal immigration." House Speaker Mike Johnson declared it will be dead on arrival if the bill reaches his chamber. Johnson addressed the border on NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday.
The American people are done with this. The border has to be secured, and the president has the authority right now. He doesn't need another act of Congress.
Immigration is the second largest concern for Americans, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll published last week. We'll have a special report from NTD's Kelly Wright at the southern border coming up. Officials in New York City are planning to hand out $53 million prepaid debit cards to illegal immigrants sheltering at hotels. A pilot program will be run on 500 families first. The cards can only be used at grocery and convenience stores and are meant for food, hygiene products, and baby supplies. The cards are refilled each month with an amount based on family size and income. The amount is close to what's provided in the state's food stamp program. Applicants need to sign an affidavit promising only to spend the money on exclusive items or lose access to the program. If the pilot is successful, cards will be given to all illegal immigrants sheltering at city hotels, roughly 15,000 people. City Hall officials are touting the program as a more cost-effective way for the families to get food and baby supplies, compared to the current system of providing non-perishable food boxes. Meanwhile, NYPD continues to investigate the beating of two of their officers in Times Square. Several illegal immigrants who were arrested after the attack were seen getting on a bus to California after they were released from custody without bail. City officials say migrants are still welcome as New York City is a sanctuary city, but not if they're breaking the law. Now for a special report on the border crisis. As a show of support, 13 governors joined Texas Governor Greg Abbott in Eagle Pass yesterday. NTD's Kelly Wright brings us more from the southern border.
I'm Kelly Wright in Del Rio, Texas, along the southern border between Texas and Mexico. In fact, to my left, just yards away from me, is the country of Mexico. You can see that there's fencing all the way down the border line. And over my shoulder, this tall structure here, that is the original wall that the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, wanted erected all along the border. Now, what's happening here today is the fact that so many illegal immigrants have crossed into America through the southern border. To be exact, Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, states that 10 million illegal immigrants came across into America just this past year. Now, he, along with 14 other Republican governors, gathered in Eagle Pass, not far from here, at the border there along Mexico, to state very clearly that they want something done about it. They sent a message to President Joe Biden saying enough is enough, something must be done. It's time for the president, they say, to act, to close the open border.
And we are here to send a loud and clear message that we are banding together to fight to ensure that we will be able to maintain our constitutional guarantee that states will be able to defend against any type of imminent danger or an invasion. There's extraordinary danger, imminent danger, crossing our border all the time.
I mean, the federal government's role under the Constitution is to protect our borders, right? And if they fail to protect the borders, then states are obligated to step into that particular breach. None of this would have to happen if the federal government would simply enforce the laws that are already on the books.
still the greatest country on the face of the world. And we need to be thankful for that, but we also have a responsibility to protect it, because I want my kids and every kid growing up in this country to get to have the same America that we're growing up in right now. But we're going to have to fight for it and protect it if that's what we want to pass down.
And back live now, you can see that the governor of the state of Texas is quite concerned, along with the 14 other Republican governors who came here to stand in solidarity with him. All of them agree that something must be done. And many people that I spoke to here, they agree as well. In fact, some of the people living in Del Rio and Eagle Pass have explained to me that they believe that the federal government has failed them, has let them down in protecting them from illegal immigrants who have come into this country and caused them to lose their livelihood. Ranchers, for example, talking about they lost their livestock, and just average citizens feeling that they can't walk freely through their own neighborhoods anymore because of the dangers or the perils that exist from the threatening issues involving illegal drug trafficking, as well as human trafficking and child trafficking. It's quite a mess here, and the only way to clean up this mess is for Congress and state governments, as well as the federal government, to do something. The citizens want something done. They're actually clamoring for some action, for some change, to cut down on the legal immigration issue. Reporting from Del Rio, Texas, along the Mexico border, I'm Kelly Wright.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Piers that dot the California coast are showing their age. Can repairs keep up with the frequent coastal storms? MetLife Stadium is set to host the 2026 Men's World Cup. More on the countdown to the big soccer competition. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. Since the gold rush, California's coast has been dotted by piers that evolved from serving steamships to become an integral part of many beach communities' identities. But more frequent storms are threatening their existence.
Capitola's Wharf and the Ocean Beach Pier in San Diego were built over a century ago. Both piers are among several that are currently closed after being damaged. Rising seas and more intense and frequent storms are taking their toll on California's iconic structures. The aging structures raise questions about their fate and whether it's enough to keep repairing them.
It's going to be no surprise in high energy events when we've got higher tides and we've got higher wave energy that it's going to be harder and harder for these structures to stay in place.
Repairs have climbed into the millions in recent years for many communities, and more storms are expected to bring more damage to the piers this year with an El Niño season. Some city engineers are looking at redesigning them so they can withstand higher, more powerful waves. Others say they need to be relocated or taken down altogether.
Each ocean has its complexities, obviously, but the Pacific Ocean is super active in terms of many complex environmental processes that can be happening there, all the way from king tides to storm systems that can create big winds that can push water into the communities.
Huge surf and storm surges that pummeled Santa Cruz County in late December caused an estimated $250,000 in damage to the Capitola Wharf, only months after repairs were made following storms in January 2023.
The city went over many iterations and different designs and different tactics to make the wharf more resilient and finally settled on widening the wharf. So the project we have going on right now is making the narrow part of the trestle doubly wide from 3 to 6 pilings in an effort to make it more resilient and to not get that mid-span damage we've seen in the past couple of storms.
San Diego's Ocean Beach Pier has been repeatedly battered since 2019, opening only for a few months at a time, only to be damaged yet again. The city is now considering what to do after spending more than $1.7 million on fixes over the past 5 years. California's oldest public piers were critical lifelines for communities to get lumber, bricks, and cement, with much of the coast still decades away from being reached by a railroad. Later piers were part of the state's booming tourism industry, linking elaborate resorts in the early part of the century.
I love walking out onto the wharf because it gives you another kind of a perspective of the ocean. So I love walking out there. I feel like I'm on the water without having to be in it.
Nearly all of California's piers have undergone major repairs after enduring fires and general erosion by the ocean's elements.
Maine started in-person absentee voting on Monday for the upcoming Republican primaries on March 5th. Former President Donald Trump is still on the ballot as the state's Secretary of State awaits the Supreme Court's Colorado ruling before deciding on keeping or removing him from the ballot. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
The Supreme Court's hearing on Colorado's decision begins on Thursday. If Trump does get disqualified from being on Maine's Republican primaries ballot by March 5th, then the person in second place will move to first. In December, Maine's Secretary of State Sheena Bellows said that former President Donald Trump engaged in an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, and violated his constitutional oath. Bellows told WGME, quote, "He is not qualified to hold the office of the president under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment." Former federal prosecutor Joe Moreno told the BBC that it was arrogant for Bellows to decide that Trump committed an insurrection without criminal conviction in a trial. He said, quote, "There's no way this holds up under any judicial scrutiny." Trump was acquitted of an insurrection incitement charge in February 2021 during his second impeachment trial. So far, there have not been any other trials charging him of engaging in an insurrection. Jason Blair, NTD News.
One former Los Angeles County sheriff is now allegedly on the do not hire list. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more on the developing story.
In 2019, former Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva generated controversy by reinstating a deputy facing domestic violence allegations. However, as he now seeks election for county supervisor, reports from the Los Angeles Times indicate that Villanueva's own rehiring prospects are in jeopardy. A county oversight panel found that the former sheriff violated multiple policies related to discrimination and harassment due to his attacks on Inspector General Max Huntsman, recommending that he should be labeled with the do not rehire notation in his file. The Times reported instances including Villanueva's frequent reference to Huntsman's foreign-sounding birth name, Max Gustav, and accusations suggesting Huntsman is a Holocaust denier. Apart from conflicts with Huntsman, Villanueva often feuded with LA County supervisors, singling out Supervisor Janice Hahn, a consistent target on X. The Hahn for Supervisors campaign told The Times LA County Sheriff's Department put Alex Villanueva on the do not rehire list. Voters shouldn't rehire him either. NTD reached out to former Sheriff Alex Villanueva for comment, but did not receive a response by airtime. Christina Corona, NTD News, California.
Now turning our attention to soccer. The 2026 Men's World Cup final location has just been revealed, and it's none other than MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. FIFA has chosen this iconic venue over competitors in Dallas and Los Angeles. NTD's Carlos Reyes has more on the story.
Get ready to mark your calendars because the stage is set for an epic showdown at the 2026 Men's World Cup final, and it's all happening at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. FIFA, after careful deliberation, has chosen this colossal venue over the contenders in Dallas and Los Angeles, making it the battleground for the world's most prestigious football match. MetLife Stadium, home to the New York Giants and the New York Jets, will witness history on July 19, 2026, as it concludes the first ever 48-nation edition of the World Cup. The stakes are higher than ever, with the tournament expanding to 12 four-nation groups and a last 32 knockout stage, bringing the total number of matches to a thrilling 104. While MetLife steals the spotlight for the final, Dallas isn't left empty-handed, hosting an impressive 9 matches, including a semifinal match at the state-of-the-art AT&T Stadium. Los Angeles, on the other hand, will kick off the U.S.'s campaign with the opening game at the magnificent SoFi Stadium on June 12th. But before the grand finale in New Jersey, the soccer fever begins at Mexico City's Estadio Azteca on June 11th, hosting the tournament's opener, followed by Canada's debut at Toronto's BMO Field a day later. Miami's Hard Rock Stadium will be the battleground for the third-place playoff, while another semifinals match will unfold at the striking Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. MetLife Stadium, traditionally an NFL venue, will undergo a transformation from its usual turf pitch to a FIFA-approved grass field. This isn't the first time it's hosted top-tier soccer. Back in 2016, it saw the Copa America final clash between Chile and Argentina. New Jersey's Governor Phil Murphy played a crucial role in securing the hosting rights after engaging in talks with FIFA in September. Supporters argued that the global heritage of New York, with landmarks like Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty nearby, made it the obvious choice. With the final falling just weeks after the U.S.'s 250th celebration of 4th of July, there are calls for increased infrastructure, including a transitway connecting Secaucus Junction to MetLife Stadium, in order to accommodate for the influx of fans. New Jersey officials are racing against time to make this happen, learning from past transit mishaps during major events like the 2014 Super Bowl. As the countdown to the 2026 World Cup begins, all eyes are on MetLife Stadium, where the beautiful game will reach new heights and history will be made on the grandest stage of them all. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. And in more China news, slapping on at least 60% tariffs on China imports. That's what former President Donald Trump plans to do if he wins election. More details coming tonight at 9:30 on NTD's China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.